Bukayo Saka is about to usher in a new era in English football. He's arguably the best right winger in the league, but despite putting up the numbers in the past, Saka's still one of the most hated players worldwide, especially after the incident in 2021 that almost ruined his career, leading guys like me to keep asking, why does he get the hate every week? It's probably because Saka's rise to fame isn't your typical story. He's born on the 5th of September 2001, and from an early age, all he wanted to do was football. He didn't exactly strike out as a natural talent from early on. He started at Greenford Celtic before playing for Watford, and pretty soon, thanks to the hard work people like his dad had put in to train him, he got his big chance. He joined Arsenal's Hale End Academy at 7, and as the years progressed, he put in the hard yard and pushed his way up. He played for Arsenal at all levels of youth football, and once he turned 17, the experience he'd gotten started paying off. In November 2018, he made his first team debut as a sub against Foscala Portava, and a couple of months later he made his debut as a sub against Fulham. It was a dream moment for him and the coaches he played under in the academy. Just ask Ken Gillard. Bukayo was always a prospect that was identified very early at Hale End. He was always a very efficient team player, always influencing games, scoring goals, creating goals and playing different positions. Even at a young age, he could play left back, left wing, right wing, or as a number 10. Talk about being versatile. Saka was switching positions at Hale End almost every minute. The thing is though, the Saka you see now wasn't the one back then, because when he did finally get his big break and make it to his first team, he was in as a defender. Yep, Saka's career began in defensive, and in his first full season at the club in 2019-20, he finished with 4 goals and 12 assists in all competitions. But actually, it was more than that, see? Saka hitting up numbers like this was in that COVID Arsenal team, and these dudes were awful. Damn, Arsenal looked like a comedy show with a cast full of footballers. Despite all this, Saka emerged as one of the team's bright sparks that season at left back. He'd shown that he could form a connection with some of the team's established players, and play in the new system that demanded high-intensity football from the start Arteta wanted. They finished 8th in the league that season, but Mikel Arteta had a plan that involved Saka playing a key part in that, and he let him on it too, and that's why months later, Saka committed his future to the club. He'd signed a new long-term contract to stay at Arsenal, and that was only the beginning. With his new contract in the bag, Arteta also decided to retrain Saka's position. He'd seen enough of him to know Saka could give him more in attack, so he had him play as a right winger, and in his first official game in the new role, he went direct. Dropped the assist for Albar's goal and was part of the team that won the Community Shield on pens. Saka was starting to make a name for himself. He won the Arsenal Player of the Month award 3 times in a row from December to February. On the international scene, 2020-21 was also the start too, because in October, after putting up a series of impressive performances, he got called up to the national team. Despite being from Nigeria, Saka decided to commit his international future to England, and at the end of the season, head coach Gareth Southgate had seen enough. In his mind, Saka was ready and included him in the 26-man squad for the biggest event of the summer, the Euros. Saka played a part role in the team, but when he first got his start against the Czech Republic, he was so good he won the Man of the Match award. England made it to the finals against Wembley, and in a tight game that was 1-1 heading into extra time, Southgate brought Saka in to see if he could make the difference. But the game went into penalties, and in front of his friends and family, he wanted to be a hero, see if he could help the national team bring it home. So Saka got selected as the guy to take the 5th spot kick for England. But what should have been the biggest night of his young life turned into the worst of his career. As soon as he missed, Saka knew what was coming next. The racist abuse hit hard. See, I've got to point out that it wasn't just Saka who missed in the shootout. Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford both did, but both didn't get as much hate as Saka. The racist comments were everywhere, but lucky for Saka, back at Arsenal, he'd always been their little superstar, one of their own, so they shielded him from all the hate that he was getting online for allowing fans to show how much they loved him, and in return, Saka's performance went up. In the 2021-22 season, he was a key part of the Arsenal team that went from finishing 7th in the season before to fighting for the Champions League. He finished the 2021-22 season with 12 goals and 7 assists in all competitions. But his game was even more than that. Down the right, it's almost as if opposition fullbacks didn't know just how good Saka had become. Once he was on the ball, his unpredictability and quick feet easily allowed him to change directions whenever he wanted, and he was productive too. The numbers didn't lie. Still, in the same season, Saka became the second youngest player to bag 10 league goals for Arsenal after Nicolas Anelka, and he was hitting them in key games too. Safe to say he was balling out that season, and at the end he won the Arsenal Player of the Season award for the second time in a row, and another big one too. He was voted as England's Men of the Year player. Honestly, this was big for him. 1 year earlier he was still getting hate words and abuse online, and 1 year later he was the best footballer in the country. What a turnaround! Ultimately though, Arsenal just missed out on the Champions League qualifications to North London rivals Spurs. Following this, Saka entered beast mode. He was unstoppable. At this point now, Saka was the complete package. He could do everything. He still had his skills and dribbles, but here he'd become more direct, and also getting on the end of things too. He was Arsenal's #1 penalty taker now, and in turn he was decisive all through. Saka hit 15 goals and 11 assists in the league. That's 26 goal contributions in 38 matches, including bagging a brace against Liverpool in a titanic 3-2 at the Emirates. Saka's form didn't go unrecognised too. For the second year running, he won the England's Men of the Year Player award, made the PFA Premier League Team of the Season, and on a collective front helped Arsenal get back to their status of being a powerhouse again. It was clear that under Mikel Arteta, Arsenal was building something. It started getting rid of players he knew didn't fit the system, and brought in more quality additions to the squad. And once the team had bought into the way he wanted them to play, they looked different from the Arsenal team the league was used to back then. Really good. Thanks to the efforts of star man Saka and players like Martin Odegaard, William Saliba, Gabriel Martinelli and a couple of others, the Gunners went from fighting a Champions League spot to hitting a title charge and surpassing everyone. They did lose out to Man City with a couple of games left to play, but now Arsenal was no joke and Saka was a star. Midway through this season too, Saka made the cut for England's team to World Cup, and even bagged in the opening game against Senegal. The World Cup quarter-final defeat to France was where the dreams ended for Saka and England, but he'd done enough to make sure he'd become a regular in the team, and banish the suggestions that he'd choked on the big stage for England. It's 2023-24 now, and once again Saka's still balling. With 20 goals and 14 assists in all competitions, Saka's in the 95th percentile for goals per 90, 91st percentile for assists per 90, and 90th percentile for expected goals per 90, with an XG of 0.48. His dribbling and take-ons haven't been as high as in the previous seasons, with 43.01% success rate out of 93 dribble attempts. But that's because he's becoming so good that the opposition defences and fullbacks are now doubling down on him whenever he's got the ball. They're scared of what he can do on it. Saka's numbers have put him in some pretty elite company too. He's the youngest Arsenal player to hit 50 league goals for Arsenal, and he's alongside ballers like Cesc Fabregas and Thierry Henry on the list of the youngest players for Arsenal to hit 25 goals and assists in a season. In fact, Saka's part of only 4 players in the Premier League with 50 goals and assists in the last 4 seasons. All of this is proof he's been prolific. Saka's undeniably been brilliant for Arsenal this season, and yet some critics still don't agree that Saka's been influential for Arsenal. What more does this guy have to do? Some even suggest that all Saka does is hit pens and limp after getting stubbed off, failing to realise that he's the 3rd most fouled player in the league this season. Give the guy a break. Saka's featured in almost everything Arsenal has done up to this point, with players like him, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard and Gabriel forming the core part of the new Arsenal team. They're cooking. Saka's always been key, and if he can continue the good vein of form he's been in, he can usher into a new era at the club and become the main man for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more.